That was a tangent.
Yeah, that was a tangent. So like I said, I don't know if this is going to be useful, but since we're talking comic book stuff off top, I lived in Colorado for about a year. Fix-It, you remember the outlet for Third Planet? It used to be in like Pasadena and other places like that.
There was one in South Houston.
They have the satellites and stuff.
Yeah, there was one in South Houston, the one in Houston and Third Planet. There was a third one that was like in the Rice Village area.
Yeah, and of course those eventually closed down, and now Bedrock City is really the only chain of comic shops in the Houston proper. There's some people that are around Houston, like outside of Houston, that have chains, but the only proper chain in Houston is Bedrock now, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Okay. Back in the 90s, Mile High Comics had those outlets as well. And there was one in a suburb that I would hit on occasion. Like I remember fishing one of the Cry for Dawn #1 reprint editions, like a third printing or something like that, out of their dollar bins or whatever they had. But since I had a neighborhood shop that I walked past on the way back and forth from school, I just went to my neighborhood shop most of the time. It was just a little extra something to get to the Mile High one. But even though I lived in the Denver area, I never went to the proper Mile High, which is one of the largest and most famous comic shops of all time. So when I had the opportunity to go back to that area, I had to make sure I made a stop for Mile High Comics. And I was a little remorseful because I was trying to be cool about it. I didn't want to, we're on a road trip anyway. I don't want to make too big of a deal about going to the comic shop during the road trip. But we still had like a couple of days blocked out for me to be there for however long I needed to be there because I didn't know what I was in for. And when I got there, I was a little bit like feeling bad, like I took too long to get to the place because it was so much bigger than I'd reckoned with.
That's what she said.
Because like when you're outside and you see it, it is a warehouse. It's a warehouse of comic books.
Like the size of a CVS, a Walmart.
Yeah, like a department store essentially.
Like a J.C. Penney's?
Sure. Well, today's J.C. Penney's aren't that big anymore, but around those dimensions, yeah. So like when you're looking outside, it's about 20 some odd feet up in the air, and they have all these banners featuring like the Spirit and like Spider-Man covers and Thor and all this kind of stuff. So it's just like everything's so much bigger than a comic shop is supposed to be.
Was there a lot of people there?
Yeah. So this is part of the problem. Is I walk through the doors and I'm expecting whatever is going to be here at Mile High. What I don't know is they're having like their 40th or 50th anniversary sale, and most of the comics are 70% off. And so there were plenty of people there. There's a ton of people there. So I'm like, oh crap, I'm here at like the most optimal time I could possibly go here, and I don't know how anything works, and it's so freaking big. And I'm not gonna say I had a panic attack or anything, but I definitely like started to fritz out a little bit because I'm like just trying to figure out how am I even gonna walk around this place and get my bearings and like understand where I'm at in relation to everything else. Because most comic shops you go into, you pretty much have it down the minute you walk through the door because it's all like one big area, or maybe there's a couple of big areas and that's it. Unless you go to someplace like Dimensions where it's an actual maze.
Dimensions was always the actual biggest one I can think of, like
because it's a maze though. It's not that it necessarily had the same. I mean, it had pretty good square footage.
No, it had good square,
but also because it's literally designed to be a labyrinth.
Shops are a cave.
Yeah. By the way, since they moved, are they still a labyrinth or no?
I haven't been there yet.
I thought
we need to go next time. We need to go next time.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I thought you had gone.
No, we haven't gone.
Oh, okay. Because you told me the prices were nuts.
No, that wasn't me. Are you sure you didn't talk about Fryhole?
No, I haven't talked to Fryhole about Dimensions. I would talk to you. You told me that you'd been there and the prices had gotten nuts since they moved. They shot through the roof or something.
I wasn't talking about another shop?
Must have been, because I thought you were talking about Dimensions.
No, I've been wanting to go to Dimensions.
Okay. I want to see if they kept the maze design, because that's what's so cool about Dimensions. Like, it's cool they had so many different genre-based rooms and stuff. That was cool. But also just like figuring out the maze and making your way through the maze, and it's called Dimensions, so you're going from one dimension to another dimension. That was cool.
Damn, I just I just put that together right now.
Right. So if they're called Dimensions, but they no longer have the dimensions, that's going to be a real bummer. I'm glad this guy over here, Mac, he went in with his phone and actually filmed his way through the maze so you can at least see the whole thing. If it's not there anymore, that's going to be like, as far as I'm concerned, it needs to go to the Internet Archive.
Yeah, but the problem is that location.
Yeah, the location was terrible.
It was horrible. I mean, that sucks. They're going to give up the dimensions, but you want it to actually exist. So.
Right, yeah. So anyway, but definitely bigger than Dimensions. 100% bigger than Dimensions.
That's what I'm saying. Is it like the size of a Walmart?
That's what...
Walmart
might be a little bigger.
I was just looking on Google Maps.
So
it's big. It's huge. I don't think it's a Walmart size.
So
but when you say JCPenney, that's not...
No, it's bigger than CVS.
Bigger than CVS. Okay.
Yeah.
So right between the two, like a Ross.
Sure. Maybe a little bigger than a Ross.
Maybe bigger than a Ross. Bigger than a Ross.
Maybe like a Palais Royal.
That's fucking huge.
It's huge. Yeah, exactly.
Two-story?
No. Well, yes.
It's 2 stories in height, but there's not 2 levels.
You can't access the second floor. Okay.
Hey, how upset are people in Denver that the name Mile High was taken after they legalized all this shit?
Well, it's Mile High comics. So I'm certain that there's other Mile High things
There's
in the
like
area.
Mile High CBD ointment,
Yeah,
Mile
absolutely.
High
There's got to be a dispensary.
gummies outlet.
Yeah.
Sequoias.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, guaranteed. So anyway, so you can't go upstairs, so that's kind of a bummer, but cool. But what was neat too is like, well, it's not really neat. What it is, you have to park in this dirt lot to the side.
Oh, wow.
And then you got to walk over past fence across this like wooden bridge thing.
What?
And then you go up stairs, rainbow colored, although they're mostly faded away now, but there's rainbow colored stairs to go up into the actual
Valhalla.
the warehouse. And there was a Thor outside. And so you get in there, and like I said, it's like 20 foot to the ceiling, right? So that means they got like back issues, like they've got comic books that are priced at like $20,000, in cases and stuff. And they got stuff going all the way up the walls, and they got statues everywhere, and it's just
How many
sprawling.
employees, roughly?
I would say I saw somewhere like 10 to a dozen employees when I was there. Yeah, but that I saw.
Oh yeah, dude, that's definitely bigger than a fucking CVS. Dude, that's fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So like I said, I was starting to
Prices?
I'm getting to that. So I started to fritz out because I wasn't sure like how am I going to like just take this in and comprehend what I'm looking at and be able to get everything that I want to get and stuff. And of course they've got all these different departments and stuff because again, it's a department store of comic book and fan stuff. Like they have all these cases full of like one case is nothing but Master of the Universe figure. One case is nothing but Universal Monsters memorabilia. They have a whole section for Star Wars and another section for Star Trek. And they've got stuff like they'll have a loose, you remember the, was it Playmates in the 80s and 90s did the Star Trek Next Generation and all that kind of stuff. And you know how they had their own Enterprise Bridge playset? They had one of those out, just out.
So basically, you could go there and complete your collection if you needed to.
There's a chance you could. But see, like I said, I was starting to fry out and I was like, what the hell am I going to do? How am I going to do this? So I just remembered Hedgemate. You find a wall and just keep following that wall until you can find get your boundaries, right? And so once I did that, I had a better sense of things and I started to calm down. And again, there's a sale on, but I had to look at the list to see, okay, what's on sale and by how much. And one of the employees who had a shitty attitude. One thing that was interesting is like when we were in the Denver area, we were surprised at how nice everybody was. And my gal in particular isn't used to people being nice to her, especially when we were traveling and stuff. Like if we were in Canada, sure, people are going to be nice to you. But in the States, people tend to be assholes, right? But by and large, Denver people were very nice to us. Colorado people were by and large very nice to us, except for Mile High. She kept pointing out how they were kind of stuck up and just like kind of generally antisocial and not the most helpful of people. And so what you'd have to do...
They're nerd herders, dude. What do you expect?
Right. But like compared to like a Bedrock City, they're nowhere near as nice as somebody like in a Bedrock City or something.
Bedrock, cool.
So what you would do is you'd go to different places and they'd have like help buttons and you'd hit the help button and then an alert would come over the overhead speakers that was pre-programmed where it's like help needed at location 18753 and then eventually somebody would show up and help you out and stuff. But they weren't necessarily the most knowledgeable of folk and some of the people, one in particular, had just had an awful attitude, stank attitude. And I was talking with Mac, I was trying to find out what was on sale and by how much, and in particular I was curious about because they had a whole section for trade paperbacks. And again, we're used to this. You go to any comic shop, there's going to be a section for trade paperbacks. But I'm saying like, how you'd go to a shop like the new comic section and you just have like a long series of display cases with comics, right? So imagine that times about 10 just for the trade paperbacks. And the trade paperbacks aren't like spines, they're cover out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you would stack them because since they're deep, they're stacking multiple copies of the same trade, but you're seeing the covers of each trade row after row after row, and these things go row on the shelf, but also rows and rows of shelves and shelves. So it's like, holy wow, this is crazy. I didn't see on their solicitation information what the trade paperback discount was. So I went to this one stank ass employee and was asking this person, okay, I know what the discount is on the back issues. I know what the discount is off the toys and the trading cards and stuff. The trade paperbacks, I just want to find out what is the discount on the trade paperbacks. And this person insisted that it's 70%. It's all 70%, all comics 70%. And I was like, really, the trades? And this person just like was mad that I was confirming that the information they were giving me was correct because that information did not seem correct to me. But I'm like, okay, if this is real and this person has insisted that it's real, I'm just going to buy a whole hell of a lot of trades. And in particular, I like getting vintage trades now. It's one of the things I like to do. Finding that stuff like from the 80s, it's not only is it out of print, it's never going to come back into print for various reasons. Like I've been trying to put together a set of the X-Mutant trades from the Eternity because that's, I picked up from another comic shop, a Maze Agency, the Innovation Maze Agency with Adam Hughes artwork. Although it's in black and white, unfortunately. I don't know why it's in black and white. I got a Futurians that was published by Eternity, stuff like that, like the kind of obscuro stuff. Yeah, stuff that's been out of print for a long time, that kind of thing. And so I just started like scooping up trades. And I just kept going. The stack just kept getting bigger and bigger to the point where it was getting like I wasn't carrying it with me. I couldn't physically carry that many books with me. So what they did is they had like various shelves and counter dumps, and I was like basically colonizing their counter dumps to put my stuff into, and it's accumulated, got bigger and bigger. And of course, because the place is so sprawling and there's only so many employees employees, I didn't have a lot of opportunities to like talk to anybody else besides this one person to confirm. But as my stock got bigger and bigger, and especially once I started to text Mac at first, I got to the iron section. I figured, well, let me see what he's got on Iron Man trades. And he's like, give me all of it.
Give me all of it.
Yeah, because at 70% off, absolutely, go ahead and get them. And so I'm like, once that started, and that swelled things up even more. And as I was getting that together, one of the other people, one of the more helpful people, walked by, and I was like, let me just confirm real quick. What is the discount on the trade paperback? 40%. Well, 40% is not 70%. 40% I can get through like in-stock trades and stuff. I can do better than 40% through in-stock trades. So, and me being a nice guy, instead of just being like, well, fuck you then, tossing the stuff, I'm an ex-retailer. I don't like feel good about doing that to people. So I actually went back and started putting all those books back where I got them from, for the most part. The ones I couldn't find, that's your penalty. You fuck me.
Yeah, dude. I would have been like, hold on, I got a different number. Let me go get her real quick.
There's gonna be half a dozen books.
You two work it out, and whoever wins doesn't have to put all these fucking books back.
No, I would have been like, how about this? We're gonna do the difference now,
right?
Because you said 70, you say 40. Neither of those 70 works, 40 don't.
I think we're tell him how many times I asked you, and you said 70, and then got upset.
Too nice, dude. I would have
Well, besides that, I wouldn't have gotten anything because that's the attitude of the people. Because they think they're hot shit, and so it's not going to be a situation where I, as a customer, have a dispute with you. I'm going to talk to you. No, let me talk to your manager. And the owner did show up at least one of the times. I remember him because not only is he a national figure who was important to the distribution history of North American comic books going back to the 70s. His wife ran a distribution company that got killed by DC when they fucked everybody over who wasn't their select handpicked.
Should have recorded a podcast with him. Huh? Should have recorded a podcast.
Yeah, he's pretty retired at this point, I think. So, and I wasn't going to go there.
Thought he dropped a hard R on the guy. He said retired.
Yeah.
That was retired, folks.
Yeah. He was in there with his dog and stuff. I was like, yeah, he's not there to talk to people. But I remember back when the one time I went to San Diego Comic-Con, he was there too. He was one of the only comic retailers that was still there with substantial. Well, that's not true. There was a lot of comic retailers, but he had the most substantial booth of anybody there in 2000. He's a known guy. Like he's a guy I can recognize when I'm, so how many comic retailers can you recognize,
I would assume you actually could recognize.
Yeah, fair, maybe. You were talking about the prices. So like the good thing with the trades are what they're marking, the trade paperbacks. You may have markups on a few things, but for the most part, you're going to charge whatever the cost was on the spine of it, right? Which is why, again, you like to get those old trades because that means it's going to come off of the old trades price. Mm-hmm. But unfortunately, not enough of those stuff was old enough to make it worthwhile for me. And that's why I was putting stuff back. When you get to the back issues and the magazines and stuff, the stuff that I have an interest in, fucking insane prices. The worst comic book prices you've ever seen anywhere, double it, triple it.
What?
That's how fucking bad. The most insane 90s mall outlet place that charged way more than anything was possibly worth without grading it properly beside, multiply it by put a fucking
like Third Planet.
Put a fucking power. No, fuck Third Planet. Third Planet is fucking discount bin compared to these fucks. I'm telling you. They have books where they're charging $70, $150, $300 for shit that's in your fucking regular back issue bins. So that means what I have to do is I'm going in there and I'm having to take 70% off of insane prices to see if it's something I'm really worth paying for. Like, for instance, I've been collecting things like Amazing Heroes for a while now.
Yeah.
And I'm not the only one. I've seen those prices go up and up and up. So now all their stock starts at like $15+ for any random issue of Amazing Heroes and goes up into the 50s, the 70s, crazy ass prices like that. So I have to go in there and do the mental math of if I take 70% off this price, is it as much or more than what my comic shop has on their daily listing? And they were more. At 70% off,
at 70% off.
Because at 70% off, I think they average $6+ each. And most of the stock that my comic shop has, Lone Star Comics here in Texas, is between the $4 to $6 range. So literally, I'd be paying a premium at 70%
with
off.
the discount.
Right. So I didn't buy any Amazing Heroes from them, or I bought very few Amazing Heroes from them. I bought a lot of comics interviews from them. So that was nice. So, and the next thing is I'm like trying to go through their back issue boxes, and they've got a bunch of bins out. Again, you're like talking about a Ross or something. Like any comic shop you've ever been in, take their entire stock, even Dimensions, and like triple it, quadruple it, and that's how much stock they've got out there on the floor. But they also, stuff that's slightly more valuable or they want to keep nicer and stuff, like some of their magazine stuff, they have those in bins in the wall, and they're plastic drawers in the wall, which looks really cool, especially because they put like a comic at the floor to show you like, oh, this is the Mad section, this is the Epic Illustrated section, shit like that, right? But then you start opening the drawers, and they're like a quarter full or less, and they've got all these cardboard boxes to kind of push them to the floor. So you're realizing, and Bedrock does this shit too, where they're pulling shit off floor to make sure that you're not buying good stuff at the discount. They want to liquidate, so they make sure the nice stuff they pulled off, or it's up on the wall and they're saying the wall books don't count, that kind of thing. Yeah. They were doing the same stuff there. But once you get into especially in the boxes on the floor, they have a lot of books. They don't necessarily go deep on runs though, and they don't necessarily have it. Like I thought they'd have a ton of Obscuro stuff, given that they have like a 50-year history and shit. There was some. I did find some cool little Obscuro things, but no kind of like runs or anything. And there's tons of stuff I was looking for that they just flat didn't have on the floor. And like I said, the drawers and the walls were shit, right? And the prices are all terrible. I would not touch any of these books if they weren't already 70% off. So that's the first day. So what I realized is that their emphasis is on the mail order business. And there's one very nice person who was handling their requests. So what you can do is you can go toward the back where they have like a roped off section, because that's the other thing too. As much square space as there is, the majority of it is still their warehouse section that you're not allowed to go into. And so you go to their help desk, and apparently, except for the sale, they don't usually have the help desk. They usually that's pure mail order people, and they don't talk to you at all. But for the sale, they were willing to talk to you. And the person was telling me, okay, ask for about 20 books or so, and we'll pull those for you. If you pull anything for you, you have to buy it. It's not a negotiable. If I'm pulling it, you're going to buy it. And I'm like, that's not a problem for me. I'm not going to ask you for something I'm not ready to buy, especially because the stuff that's in the warehouse is apparently a little bit better in the grading, so more accurate in grading. I found a book that was supposed to be mint, and an ad was cut out of it. It's like stuff like that. So it's not perfect, but there's at least some grading being done. My strong suspicion is there was a time where they probably did grading, and then now they have people that are not as knowledgeable and know what grading is, and they just slap a grade on it. So
the market's pretty much falling through for that shit.
Right. So that's why it's like there's some of the stuff that's correct and some of the stuff that's incorrect, and I have to assume that there's probably a brain drain that's involved with that, and a skill drain. But the person was very nice. They said about 20 books. I probably asked for about twice that, So I was way out of line, way out of pocket. But at the same time, I'm asking you to give me stuff that I'm going to buy from you. So it's like, who's doing who a favor again? But apparently they're doing me a favor because they don't usually even have the help desk. And that person got me the stuff, and that was great. And I was happy to get that stuff. And I asked that person, go ahead and give me whatever the low grade is. I want the cheapest deal I can get. And I got most of the stuff that I really liked through the requests. But I also feel like a little bit like, Master, may I have more Voyage? It's like, I don't want to have to go and beg to get the stuff that I want. It's like, that stuff should be on the floor. But I also understand that they're probably, that's just not the business model anymore. They're getting their money off the mail order. They're almost doing people a favor by having the retail portion. And they were definitely doing a favor because they don't normally even give you access to that stuff. But I could have done more stuff. I could have gotten more stuff if I had just gone online and bought the stuff through the online portal and not even dealt with the human beings. And what I want to do, especially because I'm on a road trip, I'm going to drive this stuff back home. I don't want to pay for the shipping and such. So let me get the books while I'm physically there, and I'm going to the Mecca to get booked. But now I know, okay, I know roughly when they're going to have their sale for next year. So next year I'll go on there and I'll do the online portal, and I won't fuck around the shop anymore because I've already had that experience. But that was kind of frustrating. So I've got multiple points of frustration I've already discussed. Now what's cool though is, again, they've got all these cases where it's like devoted stuff. And so I was going through it, every part I could find. And the toys, the action figures were 40% off, which can be pretty good, especially for stuff that was priced in the 90s and has never moved. So I picked up a bunch of action figures. I got like most of the Ultra Force figures for $5 a piece plus 40% off. So that's $2.50, $3 a piece.
Yeah, I knew I should have asked you to find me if you could find a Holocaust or Dark Nemesis Marvel Legends.
I didn't see them. Damn. If I'd seen them, I'd have grabbed them.
That's my holy grail.
I got a bunch of the image stuff that I'd wanted, and I got those for like $5 a piece for the most part. I got a Hunter Rose Grendel. It's kind of a bigger one. It's like yay big. I got an Ash. I got an Artemis figure from the DC Direct line that I never got a hold of before.
Grendel one sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, the Grendel was pretty cool. So I got a lot of toys. I filled a bag full of toys of random stuff. I bought a lot of magazines, bought a lot of comic books. I got some cool stuff. It was a good experience. They have tons of statues. I took pictures. I'll send it to you later on. They have about a 15-foot tall Lego Sentinel fighting with X-Men attacking it and stuff. They have about an 8-foot tall Funko style Spider-Man that blinks its eyes with lights, like some of the ones we saw for the Halloween decorations. They've got stuff that was made, sculpted, custom stuff from decades back. They had a custom Nightcrawler that was living on one of the shelves. They had a Hulk where it's just the logo, the big brick logo. There's probably about 3x4. Just all kinds of cool stuff of yore. Really glad I had the experience going there and hunting around stuff. But there's nothing there I would have bought if it wasn't at 70% off. And there's still some stuff that I kind of got hosed on, even at 70% off. But I just went ahead and bought it because I was there. So glad to have the experience. One thing that was nice too is I went through their loose trading card. And when I was living in Colorado, I started my DC Cosmic card set. I bought my first pack there. And all the decades since then, I've never put together the set. So I felt like there was a kind of full circle. I went through all these damn loose card boxes and just over and over again finding missing the card. I finally finished my DC Cosmic card, and I got 2 of the cards I had left remaining for the DC Cosmic team. So I was really happy about that. I also bought a lot of trading card sets. 2 sets that I've always wanted. My whole life I've wanted. Well, as long as they've existed, I've wanted. And I never had but a handful of each one. I think that Marvel Universe Series 2 is the best trading card series ever created for comic books. That was Skybox, I think, or Impel. And I think it's still Impel back then. I also like the first series of Marvel. They have some great cards there too. They're just not as cool looking. They don't have as many hot artists on it. So I bought it. I got for 40% off of a reasonably good price, especially because when I go to Bedrock and try to catch those, they're usually selling for upwards of $100, $150. So to get them for less than that plus a discount, I was really happy. I finally got my Marvel Universe Series 1 and Series 2. I got loose cards to finish out some sets. I bought a bunch of...
Series 1 was a white border, right?
Yeah, I brought them with me.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, you're right. Series 2 is the best.
Yeah, I love that. And what I didn't know, I bought a couple of, actually I bought 3 Ultraverse series. I actually bought one that I didn't even know it was the painted one that Dave Dorman did, because that first card is like a seer or something, or air or some crap like that. I don't know who the hell this character is. So I thought it was like a greater series that I hadn't picked up before. And it was only like $8 or something ridiculous like that, plus a discount. So I pick it up, and then when I finally crack it open, because they have this weird thing, what they would do is they would take probably like comic book bag or something, and they'd custom cut it. And instead of it being in a plastic card box, it'd be taped around into a custom bag for the card set. But you have to go in there and literally cut the damn thing loose to even see what it is. So I ended up with a painted Ultraverse set, but I also got 2 sets that I knew were Ultraverse, the Series 1 and the Series 2 Origins. And I gotta say, Series 2 Ultraverse Origins also has a gorgeous border. It's white with fluorescent splashes of paint around it, and it looks really, and I think it has like some like a dot pattern or something as well. Really pretty. Really, really nice looking set. And especially all those fluorescent pastel colors really pops. So I've never been an Ultraverse guy. I was only getting them because they were dirt cheap, but they're really nice. That second series is really freaking nice. One of the better card series I've ever seen. Oh, you're looking at those Marvel series too. Isn't that gorgeous? Yeah, the Art Adams death.
Art Adams
head.
Wolverine, I remember, right?
Oh yeah.
The Red Skull. Who did the Red Skull?
I think that was also Art Adams.
Was it?
Because one of them has an actual swastika. I think it's partially obscured, but it actually has a freaking swastika.
And then don't they have the new Fantastic Four?
Yes, they do.
That's
they have I think that's second series when that happened.
Okay.
A lot of cool events were happening for second series too, which helps a lot.
Ooh, these Ultraverse ones are nice.
Yeah.
So I'm just looking at pictures.
Those series 2, the Origins.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are really, especially when you got them in hand. I was very impressed by those. I got a milestone set. I never had a milestone set. I went ahead and picked those up. I think I'm going to need that for a project I'm working on. I just bought a bunch of stuff just because I could. I got a V set. It's supposed to be the TV series. It's only 66 cards, but it's like paid almost nothing for it. I got a Cyberforce Chromium set just because. Why not? Chromium. Yeah.
Those are 2 of the most Chromium words I've ever heard.
Right. Cyberforce Chromium. Yeah, it just seems like a good match.
And trading card set.
Oh, the Silver Surfer. I still haven't finished my set though. You see, I still have gaps in that one. But they didn't have any loose cards of Silver Surfer, and I didn't know what my numbers were anyway. And I don't have that many that I'm missing. But what pissed me off about those, I was still at my first shop, and we, I think it was like, I can't remember what the name of the company was. You remember the company we ordered from to get magic cards and trading cards? I would have known it.
Wizard of the Coast.
No, it wasn't Wizard of the Coast. It was a distributor or sub-distributor in Houston that specialized in sports and non-sport cards. But anyway, they would occasionally dump their extra loads. So I think I got a box of it for like $10 or something, $5-10 as a retailer.
That's what she said.
So I went ahead and packed out the Silver Surfer prisms, and I also had a cop that was one of my customers that I was friendly with. Went to his house once or twice to show. He had all the Spawn figures, man. He was nuts about those Spawn figures. He got my extras, but we couldn't finish a set out of a box. Not a single full set out of the stinking box. Fucking Comic Images. And then the X-Men I packed out. That set I've had finished. I think I bought a box of X-Men. If I didn't buy a box of X-Men, I bought a whole lot of pack. But I finished that set back in the 90s.
Series 2 Marvel was the one with the stats on the back, right?
Yeah, the power ratings.
Season 1 did not, right?
I don't think so. I think that they had like some kind of a batting
dexterity,
average type
agility, strength, intelligence,
with the bars,
speed.
the energy bars and stuff. Yeah,
love it.
I knew you'd love that. Yeah, I knew you'd dig that. But yeah, well, it's funny because I was transitioning out of Marvel when the trading cards were really blowing up. I'd missed the series 1 and 2 that I really wanted. 3, I thought that the space background was nice. The quality of the artists were nowhere near what they were previously, though. I cannot get as excited for fucking Mike Manley and Mike Harris and like they're all sorts of that time period, like Bagley and Lim, who were nice. They did good stuff. They're not fucking Arthur Adams and Jim Lee and Eric Larson. One thing it is going to be, though, looking at the Marvel Universe Series 1 and 2, they didn't get anything from Portasio.
Sam Keith, Doctor Strange, though, for that.
The Sam Keith is sweet. And they had a S-Color callbacker Nomad. I actually bought a spare single of that one, but I had that one back from the 90s, so I kept my old one. I did pick up, there was a Spider-Man set that had a Liam Sharp Dracula. I had to pick that up. There was another Spider-Man set that had a Mark Texeira painted Typhoid Mary. I had to grab that one. I found you that Megadeth card that I picked up for you. Yeah. So
what about Marvel Masterpieces, dude? Remember those?
They didn't have
painted ones.
They didn't have that set. If I
Sorry,
remember
I'm having lots of
that's
berries.
JoJo's Go.
Yep.
Actually, I think didn't he do 2 series?
He may have.
I wouldn't mind getting the Marvel Masterpieces, but they weren't the burning need that I've had for those first 2
Which
Marvel
one had the
universes.
holograms? Was that the first series?
I don't remember. X-Men had holograms because I got a number of the X-Men holograms. I know
there was like I think there was a Cosmic Spider-Man, a green. Which one? Oh man,
both of the Impel, the Impel and the Skybox DC Cosmic cards and teams, they had holograms because they actually continued the numbering from one set to the other. I'll still have a few gaps in those too, but not as many as I thought. Okay, yeah, the Ultraverse stuff is in there too because it's Marvel. Marvel bought Ultraverse, so I went ahead and put them in there too. So I went from like my Marvel stuff used to be like pages within another binder, and now I've got like a big fat, what is it, like 4-inch thick binder of nothing but Marvel related stuff and Multiverse. Yeah, the only thing that sucks with those, and they did the same thing with the Malibu one, is you have this Rune 9 card image, but they fucked up the collation. So when you flip the page, you'll see I have to flip them upside down a bunch of times. On like one row, you have to flip upside down because otherwise you fuck up the image. So that sucks. And then Malibu did the same. Milestone did the same damn thing. And of course, since I'm getting sets, I'm not getting any of the chase card. But I'm not desperate for chase cards on any Malibu shit anyway. Oh yeah. I remember the Jim Lee X Wolverine. That's definitely Series 1, right? Yeah. And the DC ones were pretty cheesy too. Now, one thing they did that was nice though, on the second series of DC holograms, they did add a pewter element. So you'd like have a line drawing, and then they'd incorporate like a 3D sculpture in there as well. Yeah, the X-Men, I had most of the X-Men ones. I think they also did something like that with the amalgam. Ooh, yeah, the Sam Keith Hulk. That's nice. Not a lot of Sam Keith in those sets. Yeah, and unfortunately I went cheap on my binders, so the pages don't really turn
so
that
you
good.
just teleported me back to the 90s.
I know, right?
Hey,
I was
remember
like,
the
holy
90s? Hey, can I see your trading card binder?
Yeah, of course.
Oh, sweet.
I was setting it up for you.
Do you have all the holograms or just have the cards?
I just got the base set. And actually, I did not have any holograms for the first two series, the Marvel Universe series, because I didn't pack those out either. I just got whatever individuals I could find.
I might have the hologram.
Oh, yeah?
I
kind of want to run downstairs and grab my card boxes.
I still have some of the that I bought from your shop.
Oh, yeah?
Like, I remember me and Pussycat, we bought the Garfield box set from you.
I don't even remember that one. I don't remember selling that one to you.
You sold us that.
Oh, I love the Shadow Cat.
Oh, Arthur Adams, yeah.
My Olivia box. I still have tons of those cards.
Those are great. Yeah, I love those.
Heavy metal.
Especially the ones that are heavy metal covers. I would still like to get another Luis Arroyo set. I love Luis Arroyo stuff. I'd like to get a set.
I love this one.
Oh, yeah, the Jim Lee patch version. Or is that patch?
I don't think he's got a patch, but he's in the patch costume.
This is the black suit he wore for a solo series for a while there. Yeah. They got a lot of Jim Lee work out of him in the first two series. Now, who did the Iron Man?
Is that Jackson Juice?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. It's photo. I see the photorealistic shadow in the back.
Yeah, maybe. Go look at the back. The backs are usually drawn by the same person. Yeah, it's Iron Man. I can't tell. Kind of looks like Leighton to me, though.
Well,
I love that.
Jackson and Leighton work together so much.
I'd really like to have some of the Boris and Julie sets. I've got single cards, especially because Boris did a lot of like book covers and movie posters back in the 70s. So I've got the trading card that republishes his artwork for the cover of The Girl Who Owned a City, which was
This
one of my
Red
favorite
Skull
books as a
has
kid.
3 swastikas on.
Yeah,
for the series one.
That's for that. Now, who drew it though?
That isn't. I have no idea.
That is tricky.
Brutal.
Oh yeah, I don't know.
I don't know who that is.
Okay, yeah.
Surely we can find this somewhere on an internet.
Yeah, and he did like I don't think they used it for the movie poster, but he did an image for Clint Eastwood's The Gauntlet. So I've got that trading card, but I'd like to have full sets of that stuff. Olivia would be great to have more sets of. I've got individuals, but I don't have any
I
sets.
believe I have a full set of Olivia still. I
got a set of the
all
Linsner
early-
stuff. I've got like the Dawn set that he came out with. I've got the full Linsner set. That's one.
Like,
The
I have
Stanley
all these
Mr. Marvel card
Airbrush,
always reminded me of Jake the Snake Roberts.
But also very weird.
Very weird, but he looks like Jake the
I
Snake.
still have a bunch of the early image like Todd McFarlane's Santa Claus.
Oh yeah, the Wizard
Yeah,
magazine.
the Wizard.
Yeah.
I still have like the Mac card. What was that fucking character that Layfield did that was basically like a
Blood Wolf.
Blood Wolf card?
It's usually like that fucking Layfield character. It's like, I know it's got to be Blood Wolf. Well, and the trading card came out of the Darker Image. They had 3 different trading cards polybagged with that one. They did an X-Force #1 on that shit. And I also had, so I found cool stuff for the
I love this Mandarin card.
What's
Sorry,
that?
I'm just talking over you guys.
Yeah.
I love this Mandarin card.
Oh yeah, it's a great one too. And they had a good artist on that one too, didn't they?
Can't tell.
Oh, I think that's Lee Weeks.
Could be.
Let me see the back. I think Lee Week, but I can't. I'm not certain.
Sorry,
especially
continue.
at those smaller reproductions, it's sometimes really hard to see.
The Art Adams Fin Fang Foom.
Oh yeah,
Come on.
and you could
This is
tell
not-
he was enjoying that shit.
This is not fair.
That's not fair. What was I talking about? Oh yeah. So with Mile High, I found some cool stuff there, but I was still kind of hungry. And as we got deeper into Southwest during the road trip, I kind of had a hankering to try to check out a few more local comic shops. But we always were pressed for time, so I didn't really want to stop anywhere. But once we realized that we were going to have to wrap up the trip early, when we got to Albuquerque, I had a couple places that hit. There was a place called Astro Zombies, which I found an old previews catalog, like for the July
It's a Misfits
1993
song, right?
previews
Astro
catalog.
Zombies?
One of the peak catalogs to get because it's polybagged for starters. One of the covers is a foil enhanced Greg Capullo X-Men. The other cover is a Death Mate by Rob Liefeld. It's polybagged with a copy of one of the Death Mate prologue books, the short books. It's got a newspaper polybagged in it. It's got the Bloodlines checklist trading card. It's double sized, so it won't fit into a sleeve. And it has some other stuff in it, like maybe an Ultraverse uncut sheet or something like that. I think maybe it was an Ultraverse painted series or something. I don't remember what it was. But like, it's just like, it was the depths of the 90s. Because a lot of people think Deathmate Red was one of the ones that killed the comic book industry. You know, it's one of those harbingers of doom because so many people got stuck with the late copies of Deathmate after the event had already ended, and it killed some shops because they were stuck with this order for Deathmate that they couldn't return, even though the book was super late, which is why Diamond ended up changing some of its policies bankruptcies, but it was too late to save these comic shops. So Death Knight Red was one of the killers. Superman, Adventure Superman 500, The Return of Superman, that was one of the killers. Turok #1, those were those
Really?
books. Those were the books that, because they would end up getting copies. Like you have shops, small shop, ordering hundreds of copies, and the market's tanked, and so they paid 50% or whatever their discount was. Actually, if a smaller shop, they probably only had like a 35-40% discount for hundreds of copies of Turok #1 that they can't get rid of. Like I remember, like right after that book came out, I would go to a comic. There was a comic shop that was right next to a liquor store. They had a stack, like a foot plus stack on the counter, $1 each, and they weren't moving. So that kind of stuff will kill a comic shop, and did. We know that it did.
Did you buy this previously?
I bought the previews. Yeah, of course.
How much
Well,
did they
it
want?
actually wasn't a previews. It was an Advanced Comics. I think the dude charged me like $1. And
Oh my God.
yeah. So I got that. But that's kind of stuff I was hoping for. Like when I went to Mile High, what I really was hoping to find is stuff like old Diamond dialogues and internal correspondences and like all that esoteric stuff. I finally finished my Inside Image set, so that was nice. I got a lot of comics interviews. Thankfully, I'm ahead of the curve somewhat on the comics interviews. With the Advanced Comic, the Amazing Heroes, people have started buying Amazing Heroes. Those prices have been going up and up because more and more people are starting to pick that book up. And it's a great book, and that's why I was putting together a set of it. But there's other stuff out there. Like again, comics interviews, my next big one that I'm working on, because there's 150 issues plus all the specials. They're not widely circulated. I bought a bunch of them from Mile High. I bought a bunch of them through choice outlets at Heroes Con and stuff like that. But they're still not widely circulated as a back issue. And I'm not sure how many copies there were ever out there. I think those are going to get harder to find. I think the prices are going to go up on those, but the prices are already getting higher on those. Comic Scenes I've been working on. There's a little scene magazine called Comics Feature. I didn't even know they existed before I hit the Boston Con and the 2017. I bought a bunch of those for $1 each, not knowing what they were. I wish I'd bought more, but I didn't have room in the suitcase. I didn't even know this book existed before 2017. But they got through like 50 some odd issues plus a bunch of specials. So I'm trying to put that set together. Like a bunch of this stuff that's like industry stuff where they have interviews and they have things like, here's all the books that came out this month at a time when nobody has those records complete. Yeah. I pick up some comics readers, but they're too damn expensive and there's just not enough in them for it to be worthwhile because all they have is lists of comics that are coming out and a little bit of reviews, and they cost $12, $15, $20 a piece. I just can't do it. And that's when you had a much smaller industry. So it's like, oh great, now tell me all the stuff that DC, Marvel, Harvey, Archie, it's just like Charlton. I just don't really care about that stuff. Where that like the 80s is one of my periods, and there's all those independent comic books in the mix, and there's interviews and all this other kind of stuff. So there's a reason to pick up some of these other magazines. I can't really bring myself to do the comics readers at the price they're charging. They're little bitty things. They look like digest.
I need to go look because I just went to a half off not too long ago, and I picked up a bunch of comic book type interview magazines.
Yeah.
And the prices on them said $4 or $5. And
Yeah.
I was like, no. And I walked up, and the girl was like, oh no, everything's $1.
Nice.
So I was like, well, let me grab like 5
Remember,
more.
we went to a half price book recently, and I scored a number of comics features. I was surprised. I've never seen comics features at a at a half price book.
There's another shop. I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna see if I can swing by. It's another half off of a Richmond. They had a bunch of them last time I went there, but they're
Comics feature?
I want to say yes. They had
The ones I got at the half price, those little thin ones. Okay.
but they were bagged and they had real prices.
Oh yeah, I ain't paying no real prices.
Yeah.
Comics feature isn't good enough to pay real prices for. If I can't get it for cheap, I'm just not going to buy it.
Okay.
Comics interview, I'll pay some money for because they have substantial interviews in those. Comic Scene, hit and miss. Those were really broadly distributed. Like it was a magazine, but it was a magazine that was at most major bookstores. It was on a lot of newsstands. Those books are out there. They got a circulation. They had Starlog levels of circulation, so they're out there. You can get those, but they're really nice. I really love the comic scenes. You remember Comic Scene? It's so nice to have it because they were so nice. They're pretty. They're full color or they're largely color. They're majority color. Glossy stock, magazine format. The only thing that gets me with Comic Scenes is they since they didn't have enough comic content, they wanted to appeal to a broader audience. They got really into animation. So there's a lot of talk about Looney Tunes and Disney and Bakshi and that kind of stuff. And I only have so much interest in that. I'm just not a huge animation guy, but it's still kind of neat they have that. But it's also so funny to look at all the movies they were going to make and to know what a freaking tiny sliver of those movies ever actually got made. How many movies every issue they had 30, 40, 50 different comic movies and comic strip movies and cartoon movies in the production pipeline, and to know how few actually got made that you ever got to see. It is funny to see that they were ever in options in the first place and to track it a little bit. But one thing I'm trying to find more of too that's difficult to find is sales numbers, because before the late 80s, early 90s, there's just not a lot of good collation of that data, and you had different distributors, so they have different numbers. And one I got in particular, I found an old Comic Values Monthly where they literally have the Diamond list and the Capital City list side by side, and they're not the same. Capital City sold more copies of this and Diamond sold more copies of that, and the numbers are in different orders, and obviously they service different regions, so it shows. And one thing that's nice about Comic Values Monthly, I'm not willing to pick up a set of those, but I do pick them up on occasion if I get a good price on them, because they have top 10 lists by region. So I knew like Texas, especially Houston, Houston was always a Marvel town. You know, X stuff in particular. Yeah. Where other regions are more DC or more mixed and stuff. And it's just neat to see that it wasn't all this like monolith of everybody bought the same stuff, especially back in the day. You had, well, this is hot in this area and this is hot in this area. And then I actually have dialogues with the retailers talking about what's big in their area and what's not so hot in this area. And it's just neat to see the differences and to see that kind of drilling down of the data. But what I really want are at least a top 100 list. I'd really like more than 100, but I want that diamond data. I want that capital city data just to get a better sense of what was selling and how well. And it'd be nice that I would need to find like internal correspondence and diamond dialogues to get that level of drill down. But there's also catalogs like up and coming. I've never seen an up and coming in the print. I've seen ads for it in various magazines. I'm aware of what it is. It was just like Advanced Comics, but for a different region than ours. But I've never been able to find one. You know, I just want to have one just so I can see, you know, what it looks like. And it's not going to be anything special. It's going to be the same shit that I got from previews. But I'm just curious because I've not seen it. And being a comic book guy, that thing you've never seen before has an allure to it. Can't help it.
The X-Men set. Sorry, back to comic cards because now that I'm through.
Which is also an excellent set.
I think I may have had that whole set, but I remember the best part was the Danger Room.
Yeah, that was nice.
It's 9 cards to go together, and it's all the X-Men fighting in the Danger Room, and you had to collect. It's freaking awesome. I can't remember which was the rare one out of that set.
Well, because
I used to have a Fleet set.
The which one?
The Marvel Fleet? Was
Fleer?
it Fleet?
Flair.
Fleer or Flare? There were two different brands.
Fleer. Was it Fleer?
Yeah.
But
But they did have Flair as well. There was a separate set.
I picked them up at your shop.
That wouldn't surprise me. Especially, they could be out of one of the shops.
I think you used to have like entire sets, didn't you?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yes. I was the card guy.
You were the card guy?
After
shitty job.
The other dude. Well, no, that's fair enough.
With the X-Men, because I had spares, because I think I bought a box of those and packed those out, I had enough leftover Danger Room ones that when I did a VHS dub of the early episodes of X-Men onto cassette, I would peel the backs off of those cards and glue them onto the VHS box that I made. I had my own custom VHS box for the X-Men that I dubbed off of Fox.
Christ, dude.
Yeah.
This is like paleontology, the shit you're talking about. My V8, when I would dub a VHS, I would peel
of the original broadcasts of the X-Men cartoons.
I would peel trading cards and glue them to the VHS box. I'm telling you, the people do not, you're talking in Sanskrit.
Right.
It's ridiculous. Sorry, this is the lost language.
Copy alone, much less making your own.
So I have a buddy that he likes going garage sale hunting, and we went to one. And just thinking about this, I kicked myself in the ass. This lady was selling old VHS tapes. Now everybody's looking for Halloween, Nightmare. Those are the hot ones. And this was literally her collection, her and her family's collection. And they're getting rid of. There was a lot of weird shit like Little House on the Prairie and all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah.
But she had a set of the old Marvel cartoons.
Oh yeah.
Cap, the Fantastic
The
Four,
clamshell ones.
Save Namor. What do you mean clamshell?
Were they in the clamshell packaging?
No.
The plastic open cassette.
I've got a Cap one, but the Cap one was from like the late '90s, where they had the ones in the '80s that were just cardboard. They're probably
these were cardboard.
Yeah, okay.
But she was selling, and I didn't ask the price, but later on, I think I found out it was like 50 cents a movie.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it the other day. I was like, man, it would have been sweet to have those like on a shelf.
Yeah.
And she had them all. Like someone in that house loved Marvel and bought them all.
Yeah.
I'd never.
I've
seen
got
them
the
all.
Thor, Cap, Iron Man, Hulk, maybe.
Really?
Yeah.
From the '80s or the '90s, though.
'90s.
The clamshells. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about then.
Yeah. I know.
Oh, man, those were sweet.
Yeah.
Like,
if you go to Texas, if you go to Texas Pandemic Weekend, there's a lot of horror guys that pick up the VHS boxes, and they'll actually have the fucking blister protector slab type of things for them.
Way.
Oh yeah, for VHSs, absolutely.
They slab them.
Basically, it's not quite a slab, but it's similar.
You're triggering Mr. Fix-It here.
Yeah.
There's nothing he hates more than watching things get slabbed.
Well, you know the slab market collapsed. By the way, I don't know if you know about that, but it's been collapsing. It's at the point now where they're cracking them out of the slabs to sell them.
Okay, I was gonna bring this up earlier.
Yeah.
This guy paid. It was valued at $350. He paid $300 for a comic book that had the very first appearance of Hellboy. And this guy paid $300, graded at 9.7, and he's talking about how like even the guy's telling him, "Oh, you never want to open this and this and that." And the guy first thing he fucking pops the shell, opens it, dude. It's like 4 pages at the end. It's literally just an intro, but it is the first printed.
That's like the Next Men number something or other.
Something like that.
Yeah.
But he paid $300 for it. And he's like, well, I just want to kind of look at it. I want to experience it. I'm like, $300. Fuck, look at a hook. Like, what's wrong with you? Shit like that, I would at least laugh. Like, I wouldn't. Those books, there's certain books of that era that I want to say, what are you? I mean, they literally affect the fiber or the fiber of comic book that you kind of want preserved. You don't want to open it. I don't know. I just found that.
I've occasionally been tempted to pick up a slab. In particular, like I think I've told you guys in the past, just because I've been devoted to Grimjack for so damn long, and Dreadstar's another one, where because I've been a fan for so fucking long, it's like if this thing ever blows up, if the Russo movie ever comes out, I want to get the fucking cred for being there and having that shit, even if it's in a slab.
Russo's one.
Grimjack.
Oh, I was gonna say
Nobody's doing anything with Dreadstar right now, to my knowledge. We've tried that. We've talked to Starlin about that, or we've heard that talk from him. Yeah.
I need to buy some stuff. 'Cause like I told you, I've been going through my book. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I have the first appearance of fucking Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
Like, I bought it because someone told me, oh, this is the first time Harley Quinn. And I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I'll buy it for what, $3? Okay. And it's just sitting in my collection. I'm like, I'm sure that's worth something.
Sure. But I'm talking about actually buying something that's been slabbed already.
Okay, been great.
But I've never pulled the trigger because I have such contempt for the concept of slabbing.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And now that the market is collapsing, because why exactly are you paying multiple times, especially if it's not really that reputable a service? The grading
Who
isn't
the
that
fuck's
reputable.
grading it?
Who's grading it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I hopefully that temptation, I can at least finally put that to bed because I've got multiple copies of the first appearance of Grimjack, the first issue of Grimjack. I don't have a lot of copies of the Dreadstar stuff.
Well, when you told me that Spawn story about the guy that found the newspaper, what is it?
Oh, the fucking Malibu Sun.
Yeah.
And they're trying to charge hundreds, if not thousands of dollars for
I thought
a
he
fucking
did.
Malibu Sun.
Didn't he like find it for 10 cents? Took it to McFarlane. McFarlane signed it, and then like a bunch of fucking Bitcoin bros like bought it as a
I
investment.
think that might have happened. That sounds right.
'Cause
That
you
sounds
told me
like something. That
story
sounds right.
And I was just like, that's so fucking horrific. Like, but now granted, it was like the first appearance of Spawn. Like Spawn.
Fuck you. The first appearance of Spawn is in Spawn #1.
Yeah.
It's a goddamn solicitation.
Yeah.
It's an advertisement.
Yes.
You're gonna rip a fucking billboard down and say that's the first appearance of something? Fuck you.
Yeah.
No, I will refuse. And it pisses me off because I need that Malibu Sun. I had it when it came out. I got rid of it. I probably threw it in a quarter bin because I didn't think I'd ever want it again. Now I'm trying to put together sets of like Malibu Sun and I've finally put my inside image set together. Condition varies pretty wildly, but I've got a set now. But the really valuable stuff is the Malibu Sun stuff, particularly the Spawn one. I think the Savage Dragon one's kind of valuable too, which is stupid because he appeared well before then. But I'm not paying those prices. Absolutely will not pay those prices. I'll wait for it to collapse, and it will collapse.
Yeah.
That's not sustainable.
I believe that too. Like, there's too many, especially the slab stuff. Dude, I told you, I went to a show and this guy was selling like slab comic for pennies on the dollar. Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure the class.
Well, again,
I'm sure the
I
classic-
follow some of these
the
YouTube
slab
guys.
was worth more than those damn books.
Yeah,
at the time.
these YouTube guys, they were talking about that, how they will literally crack open their slabs because they can sell it for more as a regular back issue than they can as a slab book.
Well, I told you.
The presentation is better. The people who want it, I don't want to buy a book that I have crack open or debate about cracking open. So they just crack them open themselves and they sell them as regular back issues again. What they call raw comics.
So this guy I know that collect, and he collects to make a profit. So he
Yeah.
doesn't collect because he's like, oh, I love it. He buys stuff so he can flip. And he told me the craziest thing is before. So the difference between the comics back in the day when they had the Spider-Man logo was what? Direct.
Right. Well, some had UPC and some had the logo. The UPCs would typically be on the newsstand and at the bookstores, and the ones with the Spider-Man, or there were different ones. There was a Captain America 50th anniversary one. There's a bunch of them. Those would be in the direct market. So the expectation was that the direct market didn't need the UPC codes, and for some reason they had a desire to differentiate between the two that they just gave up. Plus, more comic shops started using UPC codes and barcode scanners, so they needed the UPC coding. But for a while there, the direct market ones were the ones that had the art instead of the UPC code.
So apparently he was telling me that now the ones with the UPC codes are worth more than the direct ones.
You're gonna
there
have
are
fewer and better
copies.
conditions, yeah.
Because they would go into a gas station, they would get bent up, damaged,
exactly.
destroyed.
Fewer high grade
Where
copies.
the direct ones,
Yeah.
a lot of those were for collectors, so
Right.
they already bought
They're well
it, poured them,
preserved.
bagged them right away. So there was less hands-on.
Well, and it's always the weirdos where it's like, they can't just have a comic book. They got to have the comic book with the UPC code, the comic book without the UPC code, the comic book with the Canadian variant, the comic book where they did a price variant where it's 5 cents more and it's in a diamond. And it's rare. The Mark Jewelers one, I think it's called, where some of them have an insert for a jewelry company and they got to have that version versus the version that doesn't have it. It's
Oh,
like,
wow.
that's that kind of fucking anal retentive. I can't, well, I mean, they can't help themselves. I think they have compulsions.
Well-
so I'm empathetic toward them, but I still think they're pathetic.
Well, so this buddy of mine, he was telling me how he noticed that he would buy collections and those would go for more.
Sure.
And so he started doing more research on it and realized that collectors wanted something that's rare in
Right.
these fucking movies. And so he said that now that was kind of what his jam was at the time when I was talking to him. And I just thought that was strange. I had never heard of that. But he's like, oh, that's going to be the next thing. He's like, slabs were the thing a while back. This is going to be the new thing. Where it's
Well, and it's not, and it's just coming around again. That's always been present in the
really?
market. Like that goes back to at least Star Wars, where you had the complete psycho Star Wars people who had to have every version of every Star Wars comic, and there was a bunch of different weird variations, like Canadian variants and all kinds of shit like that. So I think it really goes back to Star Wars stuff, but it's been present probably throughout the history, but especially since at least the 70s. So that's really nothing new. But to me, that's just a form of clout chasing. To me, that's like, because if I've got a comic book and I can read that comic book and I can look at the run and there's sequential numbering, I got a set. I don't give a shit about, oh, this one's got different condition, or now that they've got a billion fucking variant covers, I'm going to buy all the goddamn variant covers and pick the one I like the best, or I'm going get the one I can get the cheapest, and that's going to go in this set, and I've got that set. And if you disagree, fuck you. I'm keeping it. I'm probably going to die with it anyway, so what the fuck do I care when it's gone? But if I do sell it, somebody's going to buy it from. So fuck.
Someone will buy your
I've got
collection.
a set. It's still a set.
When your girl throws your collection out into the eBay universe and he's gone,
right?
Someone's gonna buy it.
Right.
It's gonna fill someone's hole for a while until they died, and someone sells their collection, and so on and so on. We don't truly own our possessions. I've come to realize that now.
Fucking Debbie Downer into that podcast. Good Christ.
So I got one where I was in junior high, and remember when they used to send out these catalogs where you could buy all this weird shit online or on the catalog,
like a blood plant, for instance, like a blood plant catalog.
Kind of stuff. They would sell like fucking Venus flytraps and
okay,
like all kinds of weird shit. You could buy T-shirts,
like full on novelty shit.
Novelty stuff. You could buy T-shirts and stuff like that. A guy in my class named Brian had brought one to school, and we're all flipping through it, and there was an X-Men T-shirt. Never seen an X-Men T-shirt before. Had never seen one. It was a white T-shirt with, I want to say the cover is the one where they're on the moon, I believe. And it was basically just the cover of the comic book, the front cover. And I remember I saved money. Like anytime I went to lunch and I had change left, I was saving it. And I told Brian, when I have enough money, will your mom order this? Because she was ordering him something. He goes, yeah. I saved up every penny until I could buy that T-shirt. His mom was so cool when she found out what I was doing. She's like, I'll buy it for you. I mean, it was like an $8 T-shirt. So she bought it for me. I wore that fucking thing until it was rags. I would wear it like 2 days in a row. Like it smelled and I didn't care. I wanted to wear my X-Men T-shirt. And I remember I love that
Which
T-shirt.
X-Men was this again?
Huh?
Which shirt was this?
It's an X-Men cover. I want to say it's the one where they're on the moon. The Shi'ar.
Is it Jim Lee?
No, dude, way before Jim Lee.
Cochran?
Okay.
I don't know.
This is like, dude, this is like 88, 89.
Yeah, sure, yeah.
Yeah, and I did remember, but I had never seen a comic book T-shirt before.
Yeah.
Even when I would go to the shops, they didn't have comic book T-shirts. They had fucking Megadeth T-shirts and shit like that. They had like metal rock T-shirts, but
you had to go to like Spencer's or
if you could find it at
Bizarre
Spencer's.
Bazaar.
I think that was the only time I ever seen the closest I ever seen to a comic book T-shirt was if it wasn't Superman, Spider-Man, or Batman. Those were your basics that everyone had. But like an X-Men one, never seen one. The Punisher one, I think I remember one where it's Jim Lee, but it's the Punisher's body, and he has the red bandana, and I think he's like loading his gun. And it was one of the T-shirts where it's like he's from your chest to the bottom. I remember that because that was actually I tried to order.
Didn't they use that art for the video game too?
I think so.
The 8-bit game?
But they were selling those T-shirts in the comics because you could buy a Hulk one, a Punisher one.
Yeah, that was probably like graffiti design.
Was it? Okay,
yeah.
I remember those two. But I remember my X-Men T-shirt. I just like loved that T-shirt.
Can I just tell you something? I just searched like old, like vintage graffiti designs, Marvel shirts. The prices on these things.
Oh yeah. I forgot to mention it. Mile High had
check this one out,
shirts. I think the majority of them. Oh yeah,
that's
Tex.
Tex Punisher. $505. Pretty badass shirt.
Yeah.
Add to cart.
So Mile High had a bunch of vintage shirts, but they're almost. I think they were all like $150 to $200 each. They were not discounted the way that some of the other stuff was discounted. And what they did have, they had a couple of Cry for Dawn shirts. They had one that goes Cry for Dawn, and then there was one that was like more like the Serious Dawn. They had a Serious shirt where it was all their characters, like the vampire character they had, Fang, I think it was called, and they had the Animal Mystic and Dawn and like one or two other characters. Like they had a Razor shirt.
I remember
they had a Batman Returns era drawn Penguin shirt where is it the design, the DeVito design. They had a Joker shirt, if I remember correctly. They had a number of vintage shirts, but nothing that I was willing to pay the money for.
Yeah,
and a lot of them were clearly worn, so they weren't like mint prestige like the stuff he's looking at is $500.
You can make your own.
It was stuff you can make your own, but they were faded or they were cracked up real bad, so it wasn't like you were like I would feel more comfortable with that. I'd much rather buy that shirt because I would not want to wear it. I would not want to like frame it or something like a jersey or some shit. So I'd want to buy it in those shirts, but I'm not going to spend $150, $200 for a shirt I want to wear.
I remember going to a shop one time.
Marshall, I would consider paying $150.
I've looked at $200.
Yeah, no, $300.
Oh really? I saw
the one I want was $300.
It was $200 and it was only in large.
Yeah,
the one I saw.
Yeah,
I remember going to a shop in like the early '90s and they had like a Flaming Carrot T-shirt.
They had Flaming Carrot. They had Flaming Carrot there too.
Flaming Carrot.
I never
T-shirt.
had a passion Flaming Carrot.
No, I remember Flaming Carrot T-shirt. I remember a Concrete T-shirt. The Aardvark thing. Cerebus.
Yeah,
they had a T-shirt. It was a shop that I went to. This was way before I went to your shop. It was a shop, and I remember that was the only shop I'd ever seen like comic book T-shirt. Now, were they bootleg? bootlegs? I don't know. They were bootlegs.
No, I don't know. They might have been.
I remember thinking like that. I think that was where I bought, because I did buy one of theirs, and I know it's the when Infinity Gauntlet came out. It's the one where Thanos is standing there and it's like, "Come get me, come on."
Yeah,
I remember.
Yeah, that was a famous one. That was the comics advertised the shit out of that shirt. I remember that.
I don't know if mine was a legit, but I remember buying it at that shop and I paid $13.
Well, I mean,
for
that
it.
was a Graffiti Designs. There's a really good chance that was legit.
Oh, was it legit?
Yeah.
Okay. But I remember buying it at that shop. But I just remember thinking, like, it was so strange. Now, the one that I always thought was really cool was they had the crow. I remember they had a crow when it was just black and white. Oh, I wonder what. They'll make me some t-shirts.
Real quick, the gaming distributor I couldn't remember earlier was Chessex, which eventually got absorbed into Diamond. Got a lot of liquidated comic cards from them. Got our Magic stuff from them. I got a bunch of my Mayfair game stuff from them. Also want to mention that Astro Zombie, almost like a third, music stuff, LPs, that kind of thing. And then the comic books was a little, I wouldn't say it was side hustle, but they tended to focus on new stuff like trade paperbacks. Comics Warehouse was legit old school comic shop. They had what I would qualify as an in-store landfill of previews that I hoped I'd find something vintage in, but it was all stuff from like the last 5 years or so. But they had a lot of those vintage trades I like looking for. Anyway, support came from the Bat Pod, Between the Pages blog, Billy Hines on My Way to Bluer Skies, Chris Dunford, who wrote Of Night of the Comet. This was a great movie. I had a magazine ad for it up on my dorm wall. David Akinley 2, Del Dracula, who wrote the Godzilla 98 cartoon was pretty great. My Godzilla 98 spoiler wasn't HSN. It was the Taco Bell in Atlanta. They hung up the promo posters a day early. I was kind of mad, but what's new? Derek WC, Eugene R. Hendrick, voice actor, home studio, History of Comics on Film, The Irredeemable Shag, Jean-Bernard Francois, JMT Productions, Julia Raoul, Keith G. Baker, King Dinosaur, Marcelo Vandelli, Masks Don't Lie, Michael, Relatively Geeky Podcast Network, Richard Field, Space 75 GR, or GR, Stop, Let's Team Up, a comic podcast, Superbound, Talk Nerdy to Me, Twins Are Rising, and Yinza Morgenstar, the 108th Sade.
Bizarre. How bizarre.
Oh God, that's a reach.
How bizarre.